Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
Forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies, and how the hell are ya? Welcome to another edition of the Midnight Black Mass podcast, and we bring you Yuletide greetings this week on the program. Whatever you're celebrating, I hope you do it right. To quote the famous bass player former guitar player of Corrosion of Conformity, Woody Weatherman, if you're going to get drunk or do drugs, do it on the holidays. So I would like at this time to introduce my co-host. I, of course, am the maniacal minister, the occult, the devil, you know, the Rev, the Dragon, Dan Wilson. You know who I am, and I'm introducing my co-host, the Southeastern Strangler, the Krampus of Appalachia, Andrew Alexander.
The Mouse of Hell.
The mouse of hell, and not even not a creature with stirring, not even the mouse of hell.
That's pretty fucking good. What was that? What did you call me after the Southeastern Strangler? What was that new one?
The Krampus of Appalachia, meaning you are going to bring all the good little boys and most certainly the bad little boys, rather, and most certainly the bad girls, a bundle of hickories for Christmas, and chain them up and drag them down into the pits of hell.
That sounds like a wonderful good time. And what's a Yuletide? What's that mean?
What is a Yule log?
You say Yuletide greetings?
Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell does that mean?
Well, Yule would be the pagan version of Christmas, which actually predates most other customs, and most modern customs of Christmas come from that. And so it's celebrating the changeover into the new year, the new change of the season into winter. And so Yule celebrates that holiday. So if we have any pagan Wiccan followers out there, then they kind of were the first people to do that. And then all the other cultures kind of had their own version of it over time. But that's where that comes from.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Hey, I can educate you and entertain you folks.
And now one day someone will ask me that, and I'll be able to answer it, and they'll look at me similar to the way I'm looking at my phone right now, like, how the fuck do you know that?
I am a vast void of useless information, and sometimes useful, but mostly useless. So, got a great show for you tonight. Got a special topic we're going to cover here. I know that many of you probably have burned through all of the Christmas classic films, and each and every year you probably have some holiday traditions, but you might be looking for some new ones, and we're here to scratch that itch because we're going to provide you with some great recommendations for Christmas horror films and talk about some of our favorites coming up here a little bit later. But first, want to get just some appearance notes and news out of the way. Of course, I have re-signed with Why We Wrestle as part of their front office and creative team. There's some new management arrangements coming into effect. Some of the original management's going to be in place, but a crazy homecoming, and this is going to be reported elsewhere, and I don't know all of the internal details, but I do know that as far as the majority person who's now running the promotional ship of that is a moment we never thought we would see in the history of the arena, or the church as it's known to many people. The original chosen one, Rick Michaels, has returned to the office staff at the church. Can you believe it?
No.
No.
No, I can't.
And so the company, it was having some struggles, and the ownership thought that it would be good to take on a business partner who knew the area and was familiar with successful wrestling promoting, and Rick certainly is that, as well as a whole lot of other things. I don't think there's been probably a bigger redemption story in terms of this is a guy, and we're not going to go into the details, but he was at one point very maligned in the wrestling community, and he made a lot of mistakes, and he worked really hard to correct those and restore his reputation, and now he's, one of the guys that people want to work for. He's been integral in the Peach State wrestling operation over the years, and has helped grow their business into a very successful commodity. And so, having him involved there, anybody that he had crossed, he personally worked to rebuild those bridges and mend those fences. And so, he's done more than people will ever know as far as what was necessary to get back in the good graces down there. And everybody is really excited for the future and what 2017 holds. The Wildside reunion will still be occurring and has been now moved. I believe the official announcement is going to occur, but I'll go ahead and drop a little a tentative date before, believe the promotion when they actually announce it. But at least from what I've been told, tentatively, they're rescheduled to April the 8th. And possibly April the 8th and 9th. It may be a weekend event. An official announcement is coming when Why We Wrestle returns to no longer the church. That will always be a beloved nickname, but I definitely understand some of the promotional concerns when looking at it as a business in the heart of the Bible Belt. I think some fans might find that a little confusing at minimum, and probably at worst a little sacrilegious. So the arena name has been changed. The church will always the nickname, but is now going to be called the Landmark Arena, birthplace of AJ Styles, and that's going to be emblazoned on the side of the building coming pretty soon. So lots of exciting moves, and 2017 is really taking shape at Why We Wrestle, and so glad to have re-signed to be involved with the front office and the creative team there, and we got a lot of hot stuff coming up for you.
The birthplace of AJ Styles is going to be on the building?
Yes.
Well, why not just call it the Phenomenal Arena?
Come again?
Why not call it the Phenomenal Arena?
Well, why not? It wasn't my decision, but I would have maybe suggested that, because they probably would have thought they owed me a royalty.
Yeah. We know people don't want to come out of any money. When you say Rick Michaels is a business partner, are you implying that there's some partial ownership changing hands here? I mean,
that seems to be the impression. Again, I've not been given any of the internal details of that. I just know about my job and was it going to stay and was I going to negotiate terms, and I did. So, and I know that it's now been told that Rick is the guy in charge, but the other co-owner, who's not, I don't think he's ever been outed publicly, so I'm not going to say his name, but he will be remaining aboard and, in some sort of ownership capacity, to my understanding, but Rick is running that whole side of things now.
The other co-owner hasn't been outed publicly? I thought that. How many owners are there? I'm confused.
There's only two.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought the other one was general knowledge. General knowledge?
No, it's not general knowledge. I mean, you can probably put the pieces together if you looked hard enough, but like I said, I'm not going to be the one to publicly say that. I mean, it's probably been said on other radio shows, but I just don't know that for sure. So, not my business to divulge.
It's me.
It's me, Austin.
It was me, Austin. It was me all along. Wah, wah, wah.
So that's what's going on with me. Just also recently signed to return to IWA Deep South coming up this April for the Carnage Cup. That is now official. I will be returning to the commentary booth. Already announced for the Carnage Cup, the sensational Jay Schlack, who is a guy from the Northeast Deathmatch scene. One of the coolest, craziest characters I've seen on the Indies in a moment. He just fascinated me in an instant. So I'm really excited to see him in person. Of course, the Strong Style Psycho Tank will be a part of that. Death Wish Brad Cash as well. And I imagine a whole lot more huge names from the whole deathmatch community will be named, as it is probably the second biggest tournament of that nature in the country. So very excited for that coming up the last weekend of April. Follow me on social media to get more info about where I'm going to be appearing next year. Going to be trying to fill up that calendar. In addition to all of the goings-on with Why We Wrestle, would be appearing at the Scenic City Invitational for commentary and Dragon Con Wrestling, and a lot of good stuff. So 2017 coming up, but you can still get a piece of it. Email me at dragonsrejects@gmail.com for booking information. Follow me on Twitter at dragonsrejects. Facebook.com/Rev Dan the Dragon Wilson is where you can keep up with me there. I'm available for managing, announcing, consulting, booking, and I also do weddings.
It's a nice day for a black wedding.
Totally off the cuff, but that just reminded me of something. There's this cover, right, of White Wedding that this band did, but it was a Game of Thrones tribute, so it was Red Wedding, and there was a chick singing it. It was fucking awesome. I couldn't tell you the name of the band, but if you ever come across that, it's awesome.
Is it on the YouTube?
It's probably on the YouTube, yes. I got it off of, I'll tell you where I got it. You can find it. There's this DJ from Dragon Con who's famous in the nerd and cosplay community, DJ Spider. She always does a giant mega mix for Dragon Con every year, and there's some cool little, like, off-the-cuff songs and some, more popular stuff, too. But it's on there, so you just search DJ Spider Dragon Con playlist. It was on the 2016 playlist, and it was really badass.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll probably check that out.
Because this whole thing's about to open up a little more even than it has. In 2016, it continues and continues to grow into 2017. And I hope all the niches are successful, but I'd selfishly say I hope just some traditional wrestling would be, one of those niches that might draw some popularity. And I'll do everything I can to make that happen while staying current. You got to stay with the modern times and evolve, but I think just the presentation of just some classic professional wrestling would be new again to many people. And NXT does a WWE version of that, but they're a great fucking show and nothing but top tier talent there as well. So lots of cool stuff going on. One of those things, which I didn't even really notice until this picture popped up, but of course an innocent gesture of positivity causes a whole fucking outbreak of, people claiming this, that, and the other. What am I talking about? I'm talking about black excellence. And what the fuck is that? You say, if you're not in the wrestling business, well, what it represents is a hashtag that Kofi Kingston, I don't know if it was one of the New Day posted. It might have even been Austin, Xavier Woods. But it was a picture of all of the current Raw brand champions of African American descent. So you had like the New and Sasha Banks and Rich Swann, and I think there was others in there. Am I missing anybody?
I want to say that's the only Raw champions.
Okay.
That are black.
Okay. Well, anyway, so they were proud of this and posted the picture with the hashtag Black Excellence, and 90% positive support at first, and then the trolls come out of the woodwork, and so Kofi Kingston had to later come out and clarify what he meant by it, because people were saying that they were being racist and divisive and polarizing and segregative and all this other nonsense. It's like, have you not? I don't even see how it's a partisan issue. I don't think it matters what side of the political spectrum you fall on. If you've been a part of the wrestling business, you know how black people have been treated. It's not a fucking secret. Do I need to show you the Jive Soul Bro video? Or like Kamala?
Yes,
as much as I love... as much as I love Kamala, for a long time, black athletes couldn't get past that type of spot in the business. We didn't have our first black world heavyweight champion until 1993. Even Cowboy Bill Watts, who, has been called a racist by a lot of people and who is a staunchly conservative, hardcore right-wing guy, even he said in the 1980s that he thought it exposed the business of professional wrestling that we did not have more top black talent in the main event scene, because if you look at every other professional sport, the black athletes dominate. So why is it in professional wrestling they don't? Well, that's because it's a show and the white man controls the book. So if Cowboy Bill Watts can see it, I don't see how anyone else can miss the point. I think it's clear as day that these guys are just simply proud of the fact that they've achieved a milestone, that in 2016 we finally caught up with the rest of pro sports and are giving everyone who deserves it the equal shot that they need. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't see how that's controversial just because, well, I don't know. I don't see that it should be, but if Kevin Owens got together with a couple of light-skinned Canadians and was like, #white excellence, people would lose their fucking mind.
They would, but if it was Canadian excellence, they wouldn't say anything.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Right?
Yeah,
white is not a culture. Like we all have, I'm Welsh, but the Wilson family is Welsh. So Welsh pride, I don't think anybody have a problem with that. Like, most of the Welsh people are white, but when you get into white pride, I think it just touches on those nerves of white power and the KKK and the really nasty places it comes from, and I think that's where that social stigma comes from.
Yeah, and it's almost, I don't know, it's coincidental that you mentioned that, and two of the three champions that you just mentioned lost their titles last night. The New Day record-setting run ended, and Sasha Banks also lost her championship. So it's kind of interesting, the timing of that. Is it not crazy to think about? I don't want to take away from what you're saying here, but is it not crazy to now think about that one of the longest-reigning tag team champions in the history of the professional wrestling business is Lil Austin Creed?
Oh, it's amazing, and I'm so happy for him. Like I said, just talked to him this year at Dragon Con. I caught up with him for the first time in a couple of years, and same old down-to-earth dude, just as happy to see me as he could be, and just as friendly and as welcoming as ever. And it's funny because he's always been such a well-spoken, well-mannered guy, just the best attitude, and it's funny, after a few years in the wrestling business, he finally starts to talk like one of us. And I don't think I need to go into any more detail, but it was hilarious chatting him up, and he's talking like, the old grizzled wrestling vet, and it was just tickling the shit out of me.
That's fucking funny. Why do you think that there's a stigma? It's not really a stigma. It's just like it is just much harder for a black professional wrestler to break through a certain barrier. And there's been so many. There's so many badass wrestlers that have come down the pike. No matter what type of wrestling you like, whether you're talking about just a good classic worker or someone who is just extremely entertaining and fan-friendly and over, there's been, dozens upon dozens, but it does seem that it is a lot harder for them to kind of break into that Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Steve Austin level aside from The Rock, there's really never been anyone to reach, quite that top tier level. And why do you think that is?
I think there's some truth to just.
And when you
Go
say
ahead.
that, when you think of any, pretty much any other sport, hell, Tiger Woods even took over golf. So, I mean, like the black athlete seems to lead and dominate basically every other sport. So it's very weird that it's harder in professional wrestling.
I mean, I think there's some truth to some of that conspiratorial stuff, in that it's like there's some intentional holding down, or at least was, and I don't think, maybe not like intentionally, like I don't think that Jerry Jarrett went into the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum and was like, I'm going to be racist today, and I'm going to hold down all the black wrestlers. I think that was going through, but it's just like natural biases and the way people were raised, especially in the business, which wrestling's always generally like 10 to 15 years behind the rest of society in other things. So why wouldn't it be in social relations either? I guess. Like there was the old saying that, oh my God, promoters for years used to say, can't do a black on black program because it won't draw any money. That's not me making shit up. This is things I've actually heard promoters say to me. I was happy to have disproved that a couple of different times in various booking runs that I had or things I was involved in. But yeah, there's a lot of just internal prejudices built into the system of professional wrestling against them, and I think in one of the, while many ways wrestling has changed for the worse over the years, that's one of the ways it's changed for the better. It's just that a new generation of people are in charge. They don't have the same biases that the old guard necessarily did, and these people are finally getting their right opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can be prominently featured. It just seems that it's been a lot harder for someone to break into that next level. And don't get me wrong, I definitely do not want to see that as like an affirmative action main event push. Like, I don't want someone to do it because, we got to have a black guy on top because the world is sensitive. I don't want that to happen, and I don't think that helps. I don't think if you would ask an average black wrestler, they want that to happen. I want it to happen because a guy truly gets to that level the way, people should with, hard work, and they connect with the audience and they get over and they work hard and they're company guys, because that's the type of things that it takes these days. You got to be that company flag bearing guy. And, I want to see someone do that. I don't want to see like, well, we got to push a black guy, pick one. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't foresee it being a problem because there's so many of them that are so talented, guys and girls. Like that Ember Moon, NXT,
Yeah.
She's going to be the fire coming up. She's awesome. That's why we wrestle, talking about them earlier. Dimension to Rose, the women's champion down there. The Monarchy, tag team champions there. There's a lot of great black wrestlers right now, and so that should never be a problem because there's plenty that are deserving of an opportunity.
And because the WWE, we all know that they really gear towards the non-wrestling fan. They really want to get, because they know if you're a wrestling fan, pretty much they got you. You're going to watch them. I don't know many wrestling fans that just will not watch any of their product. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but it's a very, very small group of people. They want the non-wrestling fans, and they also want a very highbrow, very Hollywood glamour type fan type acceptance. And this is something that is you don't have I don't think you have tons of racists that are in these high positions. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but in general, when you think racism, you're not thinking of the people that the WWE wants to attract. So it seems like it would be okay to say, okay, here's our poster, and boom, the New Day's on it, or maybe a Rich Swann or Mark Henry featured on more promotional advertisements and things such as that. So I don't think it's something that they would intentionally steer away from. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, there is that, what you mentioned, going back to the beginning of time in the wrestling business, but it just seems like maybe that's all, kind of old school thinking and put behind. And I don't know. Be interesting to see who can break through. I think the New Day as a group have kind of, I think they've kind of done that. They're top guys, but not, obviously not to the level of a Roman Reigns, John Cena, Seth Rollins, but that's because they're a group. I don't think as
a group, they're on that level in many ways. I mean, they draw money, they sell. Their merchandise is in the top tier of merchandise sales. That Booty-O shit, made them all millionaires this year, let's just say that. So, is it? Because there they are, and they're drawing money in a key position. Might not be world champion, but it's an act. It's not one guy. It is an act. And they just became the longest reigning tag team champions in wrestling history. So that, pretty important shit they've given them, I'd say.
Man, you know what I just thought of when you said that, and I'm very curious now. Do you think since the New Day has been formed, do you think Austin Creed has made $1 million? That motherfucker might be a millionaire.
Oh, there's no might. I just told you they were in the top tier of merchandise sellers this year. That Booty-O shit made them millionaires. I'm not exaggerating.
Damn, that guy's a millionaire. That's just crazy.
It's awesome. Fucking great for them. Like that's fantastic. He's
the highest paid trombone player in the history of music.
Music, sports, or entertainment.
Yep, that is right.
And there's one dude from like an NFL marching band that had a lifetime contract that's like, fuck you.
But luckily he has always been. He's a great dude. Definitely deserves everything he's gotten. Very happy for him. Extremely happy.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So that's really what was cracking in wrestling news this week that I wanted to touch on. Anything else that you wanted to address before we give them a little holiday cheer?
About wrestling? No.
Yeah.
But we don't have to go on a big rant about it because I know you want to get to some holiday horror. But how about that fucking new Star Wars, son? Rogue One. My God, it's so good.
It was like a masturbatory, in a good way, Star Wars movie. It was like, oh, you like Star Wars, you like cameos, we're going to give them all to you. We're going to bring people back from the dead that's fucking been dead for 20 years, and we're going to put them in this movie just to appease you, the fan. And they did it. Maybe the best Star Wars movie ever. Just because it was self-contained. And I don't know, that maybe it's not better than Empire Strikes Back, nothing is, but it's not worse either.
Yeah, it's man, as far as a spinoff goes, good Lord, it's like a perfect. I can't really think of anything that's been a spinoff of something that's better, for sure. And
they set the bar so high coming out of the gate of the spinoffs. Like the Boba Fett and Han Solo movies are really going to have to live up to a high expectation after that.
Oh yeah, that's just. It's going to be tough. Yeah, and this one's so great because it has so many cameos, little things that you would have to be a diehard fan, but also big things that you would instantly get. And, you can't go wrong with Vader and that motherfucker. He's not on it a ton, but he's there enough to where you're like super excited. And, there's really no specific spoilers because you all know the story. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know what's going to happen. But man, that scene where Vader comes in, you know what I'm talking about, and that lightsaber gets broken out, and he's fucking up some people. Oh my God! I wish I could find me a bitch to make my dick that hard because I'm married. Oh, it was so good. Oh man, you knew it was coming. You hear the breathing, and then that lightsaber. Whoa! That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was the fucking fire. I mean, there were so many tie-ins and cameos. Like, if you watch Star Wars Rebels, there were at least 3 references to Star Wars Rebels. Some little future things that we know happen now to the casts, because that show takes place, quite a few years before this, but it's like the same kind of timeline. They pass a lot of time in between these wars in the overall story. And what about, usually when anything does any kind of prequel, like, it fucks with the mythology a little bit, and there's always, like, some plot holes or something. Like, it doesn't always make the story better to have more. But in this case, like, I immediately wanted to go watch A New Hope again, because it got you so psyched because it's, like, the leading up moments of the end up to the start of New Hope. So it really, like, it added so much to what was already considered one of the greatest movies of all time. I mean, how can you go wrong?
I'm watching A New Hope right now. I paused it to call in for the podcast because I can't wait to go see it again. I'm waiting a little bit. This is a busy week. We got Christmas coming up, a lot of stuff going on, so I can't wait to see it again. But it's just so good. They did such a good job. Let me ask you this, and we don't have to get off to a big thing, even though we could. Is it the best movie of the year?
Oh, man, this year had some good-ass movies, but for me, yeah, it was.
Someone asked me, and the direct question, and I said, I love Star Wars. Rogue One was so good. It was perfect. It was great. I loved it. Can't wait to see it again. Such a big fan. It's not better than Civil War. Like me personally.
You don't think so? Wow.
I just can't. I mean, it's as good. With you sitting there saying, yes, it's the best movie of the year, I will not disagree with you. The opinion is so valid. But for me personally, I loved Civil War so much. Like, I can't rank it above it. But
it was good too. I mean, how fucking spoiled are we as genre fans anymore? Like, do you remember the years when you're just hoping to get a new crappy X-Men movie? And those movies were good at the time, but in hindsight, like compared to the shit that comes out now, it's not even an apples to apples comparison. Like, we're just so spoiled. Like, The Force Awakens came out last year, and now we get Rogue One this year. And in between, you got Civil War and Doctor Strange and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And, like, I mean, what the fuck? Like, appreciate. Everybody talks about, we need to make things great again. Like, it's pretty fucking great right now. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we're living in a great time for anything like that. I definitely can't complain, and I enjoy it all. I don't think it's too much. I think it's pretty much just right for everything that I personally am into. Marvel, Star Wars, everything. The one Star Wars a year thing that they appear to be going for is perfect, I think. So yeah, very, very exciting time to be alive if you're a fucking huge dork, which I am, which you are.
Oh yes.
So, holiday horror cheer.
Yes. So, some of you, maybe you love the holidays, maybe you hate them, and I feel like Christmas horror can appeal to both of those sensibilities. So let's talk about it. It's a genre that's emerged more and more over time. Started out with a few titles over the recent years where content is just overwhelming the masses. There's a lot of great shit out there and a lot of new stuff that has come out. So there has slowly over time built a Christmas horror catalog that even if you didn't watch It's a Wonderful Life, or maybe you're tired of It's a Wonderful Life or A Christmas Story, or even, God forbid, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Don't know how you could get tired of that, but if you did, then maybe you want to switch gears over to some Christmas horror. Kind of sticks the finger in the eye of the holiday a little bit while celebrating it at the same time. Of course, the genre probably kicked off in the early 70s with that may have even been late 60s. Eddie might be able to help me out here. The Tales from the Crypt movie, not like well before Crypt Keeper or anything else. You know, it was like late '60s, early '70s, and it was a collection of short stories. And one of them was about a murderous Santa Claus, and so that was pretty awesome. If you've ever heard the Unknown Hinton song "Foggy Winders," there is a fantastic video that somebody made on YouTube that takes scenes from that of the Santa Claus stalking the lady outside her house to that song, and it's fucking great. But so that's kind of where it started. It spanned over to one of my personal favorites, maybe my personal favorite. It's hard to pick just one, but one of the damn best ones is the original Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1974 that movie came out? Hang on, I'm checking my notes. So no, 1984, I'm sorry. So let me take a step back then, because I missed one, a big one, a Canadian film that pretty much launched the slasher genre, a lot of people say. 1974's Black Christmas, which is about a murderer in a sorority house, a little jaundiced boy named Billy. Are you familiar with that one?
You know, I've heard of that, but I don't think, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it, but I've heard really good things. I remember I had this discussion, I don't think it was with you, I think it was with a mutual friend of ours, and he was hyping that one a lot. I don't think I've actually seen that one. Did they remake that one?
There is a remake, and I believe the remake is on Hulu currently. And the remake wasn't bad. I mean, it was like real similar. You know, it was one of those, but you know, for what it wasn't bad. So, you know, you could check either one of them out and kind of get the vibe. But the original one has just such a great vibe about it. Margot Kidder is in it. Like, it's really cool. So yeah, definitely check that one out.
I saw the remake, yeah, and I enjoyed the remake. I'm sorry, and then someone told me, and hell, it might have been you, that there was an original, and I have not seen the original, but the remake was actually good. So the original, I'm sure I have no doubt that it would be better than the remake, because they typically are.
Yes, so definitely the Black Christmas is high on the recommendation list. If you like the '70s kind of grindhouse horror feel, this has it. It's really got that great movie making quality and atmosphere that those filmmakers from that era cultivated. So definitely check that one out. And what I was talking about a moment ago, Silent Night, Deadly Night, 1984. This was a film where, bear with me here, okay, because this story is like the perfect storm of circumstances that would lead one to become a murderous Santa Claus. So it starts out with this little boy who's like 5, and his parents are on a Christmas trip out of town. They go to stop by to see their infirm grandpa, or his infirm grandpa, the dad of his dad, in this, like a mute. So they go in there and they talk to him, and they're all somber and like, oh, just wish you talk and happy holidays, Dad, and blah, blah, blah. And so they leave to let Billy have a moment alone with Grandpa. And I think the kid's name is Billy in this one, too. Yeah, it is. So he goes and has his moment alone with Grandpa, and Grandpa starts fucking talking. He wouldn't talk around the adults, but they leave, and he starts talking, and he's like, boy, you see Santa Claus tonight, you better run. You better run for your life. It's like, what the fuck, Grandpa? And then, so he gets in the car, he leaves with his family, and they see this dude in a Santa Claus suit broke down on the side of the fucking road. And they pull over to help him, even though the kid's like, don't fucking stop to help that guy. Grandpa said Santa Claus is going to kill me. And they stop to help him, and he shoots the dad and rapes the mom and cuts her throat right in front of the kid. And then the cops show up and shoot him, and he's dead. So the kid gets put into foster care in this crazy religious Catholic school. And so every time he's bad, especially around Christmas time, they beat the fuck out of him with fucking belts and talk about how he's naughty. And so, you know, he associates all these horrible things with Christmas. So then fast forward a little bit longer, he grows up and becomes this shot out motherfucker who at Christmas time snaps and becomes a killer Santa, and we're off and running. And there were like 5 sequels to that movie, and it's pretty much a genre classic, so you have to see it.
Yeah, I actually have not seen it since I was a child. It's one I would like to go back and rewatch. Maybe try to find that because I actually haven't been checking out any Christmas movies this year yet. I don't know why. So maybe I'll have to make it a horror Christmas only film fest this week and check those 2 out. And I actually mentioned that today. I was speaking to a lady who was saying her daughter is about to be a teenager, so of course she hates everything and everyone. So she wanted to like look at Christmas lights, and her daughter was like, "That's stupid. That's stupid. Halloween's the only good holiday." And I told her, I was like, "Well, there's a lot of horror Christmas movies out there that's good for the whole family," and she was just not aware of any. I was like, "What are you, and she was, in her early 30s. Like, how are you not aware of any? Silent Night, Deadly Night. I mean, just that one alone. Just show her that. She'll love it. It'll bring your family closer together this holiday season." So,
well, I hope so. Fuck. I mean, like, the next one that we're going to talk about here, by far, the most mainstream Christmas horror movie of all time. It launched action figures, plush dolls, T-shirts. It was one of the early merchandising bonanzas of 1984. I'm talking about Gremlins, and also one of the greatest Christmas movies, horror Christmas movies ever. It's just one of the great Christmas movies ever, much less one of the great horror movies. And it's kind of an open-ended movie where it's like, okay, PG, like my daughter's 5 and she fucking loved it. It's got some kind of scary moments in it, but it's not too bad. Our kids our age they were marketing the dolls to 5 and 6 year olds then. But it's a movie that appeals to everyone in the family. It's just a great fucking story. You have the forbidden animal, the Mogwai, this mystical creature who Rand Peltzer, the dad of Billy. Again, what is the fucking deal with guys named Billy in Christmas horror movies? It's like a running thing.
Yeah,
3 in a row now.
That's funny.
But his son Billy Peltzer wants a Christmas gift, so his dad gets him the Mogwai, the old Asian man in the the place that sells forbidden objects from places men fear to tread. He says no, it's too much responsibility. He cannot have the Mogwai. But the dude's kid, who was Short Round from Indiana Jones, wearing the same fucking baseball cap, it's like, man, we need the money. He's like, we need the money. So, like, he goes on the down low and sells the Mogwai to the dude anyway. So he takes him home, and he's just like, look, there's just 3 things you can't fucking do. You can't feed it after midnight, you can't get the motherfucker wet, and you can't get it exposed to sunlight because it'll kill him. Like, all right, sounds good. So he brings home,
Yeah,
he tells...
I just want to interject real quick because those rules apply to women as well. If you're with them after midnight, you don't have to feed them. You don't get them wet after that, meaning you don't let them shower at your place, and you don't expose them to sunlight, meaning you don't just go out with them during the day because that's not what they're good for. Please continue.
Fucking Christ. So he tells Billy, like, hey, don't do this shit. This is what you got to do, and everything's good. Well, he don't fucking listen. I mean, he does, but he's like really careless about it. Like he's painting with some, like, he's a comic artist, so you see he's painting. He's got his water jar here where he's rinsing his brushes out, and of course he knocks the fucking thing over on Gizmo. And what happens? Like he multiplies, and then. Like, don't feed him after midnight. So he's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. He's up really late one night working on his comic shit, and he looks at the clock. He's like, oh, it's 11:40. They're good. And so he feeds them some fucking chicken. Well, he looks the next morning and finds out they cut the cord to his alarm. So he fed him after midnight. Like, his clock has been off for a couple hours. So then bad shit happens, and we're introduced to gremlins, and it's a great morality story of like the responsibility of dealing with nature. You know, it's a really fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, and going back to that conversation I had, a lot of people just don't. Okay, for starters, a lot of people don't consider it a horror movie, but I agree with you. There is some there's some scary shit in it. Like this, I mean, especially if you were a small child, I could definitely see you being, a little afraid of it. All at the same time, thinking Gizmo's just like precious and cute. So it's kind of a good mixture. And then a lot of people also, just because it doesn't, they kind of don't consider it a Christmas movie, which is really stupid to me because it takes place during Christmas. There's nothing more Christmas movie than that. But a lot of people just kind of forget that. The same controversy with like Die Hard. People don't consider it a Christmas movie, even though it takes place on Christmas. But Gremlins, Gremlins is that's the big dog. That's the big one. That's awesome. And it had the greatest sequel of all time, Gremlins 2.
Boy, what a fucking wacky, cracked out movie that is.
Yeah, that one was a piece of shit. But Gremlins is a classic.
What the fuck were they thinking there? It looks like that movie was just put together by a marketing, research consulting firm. What did people like about Gremlins? All right, let's do more of that. But no, it starts with Baby Please Come Home, Christmas by the Ronettes. Is like the movie opens with that song. The whole film is themed around Christmas to the point that it ends in a fucking mall that's set up for Christmas music. The greatest scene in the movie is set to, I believe it's Burl Ives' version, but I'm not 100% sure, of Do You Hear What I Hear, when the gremlins attack the mom in the house, and she breaks bad on those motherfuckers and kills 5 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
And then, they murdered the shit out of the Futtermans and the scientist dude, and Mrs. Deagle, who fucking deserved it. But, it's a horror movie.
All that shit's crazy. That shit's scary. Those little fucking demons. As cute as Gizmo is, they are the polar opposite. I mean, they're kind of terrifying.
Stripe.
I think if Gremlins 2 would have never been made, they would be even more terrifying. You would have none of the slapstick comedy stuff in your head.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nice if they stuck with the holiday theme as well. I think that added so much to the first one. Just created a great atmosphere and everything.
Yeah, I could see that. But it had Hulk Hogan, so it was okay.
But it didn't have Phoebe Cates, and that was the problem.
Oh, yeah, you got to have her. Yeah, she was quite dreamy in that movie.
Always was, brother. Always was. So Gremlins was like the big dog. That's the one that is a must watch. I'd say if you don't watch any other Christmas horror, watch Gremlins. But a lot of other good recommendations on here too. 1996 direct-to-video movie. I mean, it might have had the theatrical run, but I never saw it in the theaters around here, maybe in a big city. But even more funny, there was a Michael Keaton movie from a couple years later of the same name with a very similar concept, Jack Frost. But in this Jack Frost, he's a murdering snowman. So it's not the kid's dad who's like this benevolent spirit who's trying to help his son. Like in the Michael Keaton movie, it's like a serial killer spirit inhabits the snowman and he kills people, and it's a fucking hoot. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I remember that movie, but I never watched it. I just thought it was really silly, but...
it is. It's really silly and really terrible in many aspects, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Michael Keaton must have needed some money, or he was just like, fuck it.
Well, it wasn't Michael Keaton. Like I said, there was another movie called Jack Frost where Michael Keaton was this kid's dad, and he dies, and his ghost inhabits the snowman, and he helps him.
Okay, that makes more sense. But I do remember the horror version called Jack Frost that I also did not check out. that just seem very silly to me. But and just real quick, Phoebe Cates was in Gremlins too.
Come again?
Phoebe Cates, didn't you say she wasn't in Gremlins too? She actually was.
Oh, she was? Damn, that's
Yeah.
how little I remember about that movie.
Yeah. After you said that, I was like, wait, she was in that, because I was like, Phoebe Cates is falling on hard times.
Was Zach what's-his-futs, the dude that played Billy in it?
Yeah, the two main, they were in it, the two main people. That's probably the only ones from the original. I mean, there may have been some other smaller characters, but I remember those two were in it. Yeah, and I don't remember anything about it either, other than it being borderline terrible, and Hulk Hogan showing up. But what else after Jack Frost? I'm waiting for you to get to Krampus.
Oh, well, it's coming. It was going to be in the newer horror films as we start. We're running out of time here, so we're going to run through some of these just really quick. There was, I believe it was 1999-ish, Santa's Sleigh, starring Bill Goldberg. Not as terrible as you would think. I mean, it's terrible, but it's not like it's watchable, and it's kind of like a precursor to the whole Krampus craze, because they kind of just combine the mythology from Krampus and Santa into one character, and that's Goldberg. And that, like, Santa wasn't actually this good spirit. He's actually this demon who was exiled, and he got tired of playing by the rules or some shit, and he goes on a rampage and starts killing people. And Goldberg is the evil Santa, and it's quite a fucking hoot. So, definitely want to add that one to your watch list, wrestling fans.
Yeah, probably only wrestling fans.
Yeah, probably, but probably. So, but there's that. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider Scrooged a Christmas horror movie, really, but it's got some kind of elements of that because of the whole Dickens, the original Christmas horror story, for all intents and purposes, is A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge is frightened by the evil spirits into changing his life around. So Scrooged with Bill Murray is kind of a modern comedy, dark comedy with a little bit of horror sprinkled in there. Take on that. It's pretty entertaining. It's worth a watch as well. But moving along on some of these, the more recent years have brought us a few new Christmas horror movies. One just is on Netflix now and was really actually pretty cool, was Christmas Horror Story. It's anthology type movie, similar to Trick or Treat, where you have like 4 small stories that kind of converge into one overall story that kind of plays out at the end. Definitely worth a watch. It's kind of out there at times, but I was highly entertained by it. So that's one to watch. But one of the more recent, very popular Christmas horror movies, and I didn't know what to think about this. I know you hated it, but I finally have had multiple chances to see it a couple times through, and then also visited the haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights this year, and that's Krampus. And some people like you were in this camp that hated it, and I'll let you talk about that in a minute, but I want to give my opinion first. I didn't really know what to think of it at first. I was definitely expecting more horror, and it's kind of a horror comedy. So upon first viewing, I was kind of like, I mean, it had some moments, but it was kind of silly overall. I went to Universal, did the haunted house, kind of got to be Christmas season this year, and I was like, I'm going to watch Krampus again. I'm going to give it another shot. I did the haunted house. I kind of got a little more familiar with the story and know what to expect now. Maybe I appreciate for what it is. And upon second viewing, I really became a big fan of it, honestly. And it will probably find itself in a place in my Christmas rotation every year.
I will never watch that piece of shit again. Never. I don't know, man. I just was sitting. I mean, I get why it can be kind of enjoyable. I'm sure there's lots of off the wall movies that I like that people be like, "Well, the fuck you like that movie?" But I just did not enjoy it. I just thought it was I don't know what to think of it either. Definitely, it definitely was more silly than kind of led to believe going in. I thought it was more of a straight horror movie, Christmas-themed horror movie, but some silly stuff, a good cast. I mean, good actors and actresses in it, but I was just sitting there, just rolling my eyes, and I did not enjoy it. And I don't hate it as much as I will always every Christmas act like I hate it, because if it ever comes up, I'll be like, fuck Krampus. But I definitely didn't enjoy it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, spoilers, so you can kind of tune out if you want to see it and have it. But I mean, there are some problems with the storytelling and the script overall. And of course, at the end, it's revealed that it's a big dream sequence. But was it because he finds the Krampus ornament? So, was it like he had this out-of-body experience, or like he traveled through time? I mean, it was kind of Dickens inspired as well in that respect. Because, the whole point is, okay, appreciate your family, that's the true meaning of Christmas, and don't take them for granted, like so many, like Home Alone and a million other Christmas movies. That's the moral. But, like, the way they told the story, like, okay, the daughter getting killed first, like, she was she was kind of snotty at times, but so the least offensive member of that shitty family. Like, there were so many more that deserved to die before her, and they were kind of playing it like it was a morality thing, so that felt a little out of place and unjust to me. But again, at the end, when he wakes up and everybody's alive, like, fucking, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that kind of annoyed me. I don't usually like that whole it was just a dream type thing. So when you're already annoyed with it, and then you see that, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. But I bet it's one of those in 20, 30 years, it's going to have a huge following. It's going to be one that somewhere two guys are talking about Christmas horror movies on a podcast, and they're like, Krampus is my favorite. But I personally hope I never see it again.
I think it has a great atmosphere. Like, the only CG that they used in the entire movie was for, like, some of the effects of, like, the Krampus jumping from house to house, and some of, like, this just fucking gingerbread men that were the henchmen. They used in some of that, but most everything in the movie was practical effects, which I later found out, which gave me a bit more respect for it. And like I said, going through the haunted houses, I kind of getting to see the props and everything up close. And the way they cultivated the atmosphere was really creepy, and it was a lot of fun. Like, when you went, like, they had the whole house front made up on the outside, so when you go into the room, you go outside, and it's like snowing, like the big blizzard they have, and they're pumping freezing cold air in there and snow on you, so that was cool. And you go in the house, and it smells like fucking, like, Christmas cookies, bacon, and shit. And it was a great experience, gave me a new appreciation kind of for the characters and the mythology of it. And so I checked it out. Krampus is, like, blown up as the new Christmas mascot over the last few years. There's been about 5 different horror movies with Krampus in it. I've only seen Krampus and Christmas Horror Story, which both heavily Krampus featured. There's also a Norwegian movie that's allegedly great that I'm planning on checking out before Christmas rolls around this year, called Rare Exports, that is also about Krampus. So that's another one you can check out if you haven't. I've heard good things about it, but I couldn't give it a personal recommendation. But I would recommend Krampus. Andrew does not. I'd say, if you're open to, like, some silliness in your horror, like you like Evil Dead and shit like that, you probably like it, but no, that's what it is going in, and no, it's not like a super serious horror movie.
I mean, if it comes down to watching Krampus or fucking a cheese grater, you can fuck the cheese grater.
Ow.
Oh my. Well, I won't recommend fucking a cheese grater, but you do what you want to do. It's your Christmas, not mine.
Hey, wait, Rev.
It's your Christmas, and it's your penis.
Remember, Rev, you are working IWA Deep South this year.
Well,
Don't give Kevin
So
Brennan
there
any
you have it,
ideas.
folks. A great litany of Christmas horror films that you can dig into this holiday season and enjoy the holidays with a whole new, different twist. And that's going to wrap it. The last Midnight Black Mass of 2016, folks. It's been a hell of a year.
It's been a year, yeah.
In all seriousness, 2016, for all of the terrible things that have happened in the world, I can't say it's been a bad year for me personally. I got to do a lot of great things, had a great year in the wrestling business, had a great year outside of it, got to go on 2 vacations, got to see a lot of stuff, experience a lot of things with the people I care about most. So, I'm just appreciating life at this point. I'm just happy to fucking be here.
Yeah, it was a year. No, it was fine. It was okay. I wouldn't say it was just stellar for me personally, but it wasn't bad. There were no tragedies other than the death of Empire, but oh well, that happened. But overall, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm just trying to be happy and thankful to be alive and healthy, and basically everyone I care about, give a damn about, is alive and healthy right now. So can't complain at all.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us here on the Midnight Black Mass. We hope we brought you an entertaining show amid the various technical issues that have resorted to the Potty Humor Network being on an indefinite hiatus currently. Now moving over to the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. We're very thankful for Fast Eddie Lane for having us. And again, just check me out on the social media, Dragons Rejects on Twitter, Facebook.com/RevDan the Dragon Wilson. You can book me at dragonsrejects@gmail.com. Check out Why We Wrestle, second and fourth Saturdays of the month at the Landmark Arena, birthplace of AJ Styles, at 4236 Level Grove Road in Cornelia, Georgia. Some of the best wrestling action in the Southeast, continuing the tradition of the great wrestling there in that arena now for almost 20 years. Fast Eddie Lane, would you like to tell them your plugs?
I'll make them short and sweet for you. This actually, let me go and throw these out. BeyondRingside.com, FastEddieLane.com. Tuesday, the 27th, I will be in Atlanta, Georgia with Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. Saturday, January the 7th, I'll be back with Peach State Wrestling Alliance. And thank you to everybody who came out this past Saturday night to Pell City. Global Championship Wrestling Seasons Meetings 2016 was one hell of a show. I enjoyed it from start to finish. I had a lot of fun calling the action. On a separate note, Dan, Andrew, I just want to say thank you to both of you guys. I have had a lot of fun, whether I've been injecting into the conversation or just sitting back, and just whether it be a serious topic, whether it be off the cuff humor, you guys are incredible. I genuinely appreciate the fact that the Midnight Black Mass is a part of the Beyond Ringside family of shows. 2016 has been a blast, and I'm looking forward to 2017 with the Midnight Black Mass. I really am.
We're looking forward to bringing it to you. I'm excited about it. Going to look at switching some things up, maybe having some guests and some other things to, break the monotony. This show's been on the air for several years now, so we like to switch things up from time to time. But thank you so much for having us once more. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and being a part of this. We'll be back the first weekend of the new year, so don't miss it. I promise you good things are to come. All of the best to you and yours. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the goal. For Fast Eddie Lane and Andrew Alexander, this is the Rev. Merry fucking Christmas and a Happy New Year.